Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Midday Market Update on 4/20/21. Beautiful spring day here, Kaylee, isn't it?
It is a beautiful spring day. We're glad to be here. Got some great topics today.
Yeah, we definitely do. We've got some great guests. We've got John Bose, who was one of the originals at FreightWaves now. He's on. He has moved on and started his own trucking company. So we're going to be talking to him. First up with our guests, we got Hunter Whirley, who's managing partner at FPC Riverwood, talking about logistics recruiting, not drivers though. We're talking about executive level, that type of recruiting. And Nate Robert, co-founder of Baton. I love what those guys are doing out there in the kind of in the trucking space, right?
Yeah.
Final mile type of thing.
Exactly, and we're missing some of our core group today, but that's okay because we're building it out with the guests, right? So it's me and you. We've got Andrew Cox, he's out today. Nick Austin is also out today, so that means that I'm wearing two hats. I will be your midday market update meteorologist for today as well.
Oh, is that right? Are you a qualified meteorologist?
I am I'm a degreed meteorologist, man.
Very good.
I got that degree. It's hanging on my wall. Kevin Hill's proud of me because we're both Sooners. So there you go.
Okay. All right. That's awesome. And hey, it is, as always, it's our twice weekly live interactive show. So we're on FreightWaves LinkedIn and Facebook channels. Get on there and get your comments and your questions in, and we'll get them going as possible. Did you get your modem up and running? Are we hooked in?
I did. We are up on LinkedIn. You say twice weekly. We are once weekly this week because the 22nd, we've got our Net Zero Carbon Summit.
Oh, yeah, which is cool.
So
yeah,
no midday market update on Thursday, just today. So we got to chock it full of information.
Yeah, but that's going to be a great event. We'll both be here for that event,
yep.
right?
Yep.
So, yeah, stay tuned for that. No, hey, it's free to attend. Do it. It's going to be great.
Register. We will have probably some prizes, I'm assuming.
I don't know. Probably. I would imagine so.
The prize is great information. That's the prize.
That's right. And, hey, we got news.
We do.
And you and I are going to cover this news, so let's jump on it. The first one.
Let's talk about it.
So Kansas City Southern, right? They're holding an auction. It appears. Do I hear $36 billion? So Canadian Railway (CN) has offered to acquire Kansas City Southern in a cash and stock transaction worth $33.7 billion, or $325 per share. Joanna Marsh, FreightWaves reporter, reports today. So, so CN's rival, Canadian Pacific CP, last month, if you know, announced plans to acquire Kansas City Southern for $29 billion. Canadian Railway said Tuesday morning the offer provides great value and certainty to KCS shareholders. CN also will seek to establish a voting trust to acquire KCS, which is what CP was planning on doing for its merger with KCS as well. Under the terms of the superior proposal made today to KCS Board of Directors following closing into a voting trust, KCS shareholders will receive $200 in cash and 1.059 shares of CN common stock for each KCS common share. Based on yesterday's closing price of CN shares, CN's proposal is valued at $325 per KCS share. This represents an implied premium of 45% when compared to KCS affected closing stock price on March 19th. It's kind of interesting, isn't it?
And so
getting in the game.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, please.
So Joanna was telling us on our editorial call this morning, she's going to be doing some digging into this for a while.
Yeah,
and it almost seems like this is kind of turning into like a bidding war.
Well, yeah. Sorts. Well, I mean, you've got one, and then here's my second bid, right? We're not going to sit there because CN already has a T-shaped network across Canada, right? Both both coast to coast, as well as the U.S. Gulf Coast. And now this would give them direct access and right into Mexico.
This would truly make it transcontinental across the entirety of the North American continent.
They
correct?
Clearly saw the CP offer as a threat to them, and now they're making their own. So we'll see what happens.
That's what happens when you're threatened. You know what? If you say, "Hey, anything you can offer to do, I'm going to try and do better."
There you go.
That's what CN's trying to do here.
Absolutely.
All right. Next up, let's take a look at an article from Eric Kulish, our air cargo editor. He's talking about how new passenger demand is brightening United Airlines' outlook for freight, which is good because we've talked to him a lot about how, the freight demands have kind of declined with that passenger demand as well, and how the return back to air travel is impacting that. So Eric writes that United Airlines increased cargo revenue by 74% in the first quarter compared to the same period in 2019. And officials expressed optimism about a near-term return to profitability, despite an adjusted net loss of $2.4 billion, as vaccinated customers rushed to travel again after a year of isolation. Cargo continues to be one of United's bright spots during the pandemic, and the airline's prolific use of passenger aircraft as mini freighters helped to pull in $497 million in the first quarter, with demand up 10% from a year ago as measured in cargo ton miles, according to results released after Monday's market close. And it operated more than 11,000 dedicated cargo flights in the past year, the fourth most among global airlines, according to American Shipper Research.
Yeah, they were among the most aggressive in changing over those passenger flights to pure on cargo.
Yeah,
right?
I remember us talking about that and hearing, okay, we can't use this for passenger planes. What are we going to do? Boom, cargo.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, because it really helped them out. 15.5% of their total revenue, down a point from the fourth quarter, but still high historical standards, right? For them, major passenger airline that doesn't operate all cargo aircraft. Obviously, United doesn't, right? Last year generated $1.65 billion in revenue, up nearly 40% from the previous year. So that really, really helped them out. And in contrast, Delta Airlines, right, which reported last week, had $215 million. That's only 57%, or it's 57% less than United in those revenues. So it came closer to United's adjusted gross at $2.3 billion, but still burning $11 million a day.
They mentioned that fact about vaccinated customers, and I believe it was either yesterday or today that vaccinations open up to all U.S. adults over 16. Mm-hmm. So we wonder, heading into summer, you give it a month's timeline. We're coming up on Labor Day by people who start getting those, Labor Day, Memorial Day by people who start getting those vaccines like now. What does summer air travel look like, and how is that going to impact the cargo market?
Yeah, I think it picks up, and I think it's and they're looking to the domestic. Right?
Right.
So the adjusted loss of minus $7.50 per share fell considerably below expectations, but Chicago-based carrier said it anticipates adjusted pre-tax earnings becoming positive later this year. So they're looking to it as well and thinking they're going to hit their 2019 EBITDA margins by 2023 or exceed those by 2023. So they're looking for a rebound, but some of that is going to be stymied a little bit because of international travel.
Right.
We had the U.S. saying, hey, don't travel anywhere except New Zealand and like two other places or something.
And I don't think New Zealand wants us still. I think New Zealand is like, keep out.
Like, stay, get a few more vaccinations or something. But so it's the domestic that is really helping out, and then the cargo, which they're doing a fabulous job with that. Obviously, they're holding their own right there. So things are looking positive. Hopefully, the air cargo, all of them will pick up and do better. But I see, definitely travel's coming back. As soon as you can do it, people are going to go. They want to get out and go. The shipping bulls are back as well, as Greg Miller, senior editor at American Shipper, reports. First container stocks and now dry bulk, right? So unlike in the container sector, rising dry bulk rates are not coinciding with rising orders for new ships. Container shipping rises first and highest, then dry bulk, then product tankers, then crude tankers. That's the emerging consensus on how a post-COVID global recovery will play out in the ocean shipping. Phase 1 containers, epic full swing. It's on its way, right?
Right.
Phase 2 dry bulk is ramping up now. So check this out on he's got this on American Shipper on FreightWaves.com or American Shipper. And check this out, because dry bulk freight rates are now not just an indicator of dry bulk shipping, but high spot rates imply growing demand for commodities, industrial production, steel, and construction. They're a positive signal on the global economic health, and that's why I wanted to bring this one up today. And it's a good read to go through it, because tankers and dry bulk in particular, people don't think of all that much, right? When we're talking about different things, people in logistics absolutely do. The people at IntelliTrans absolutely do. The production, steel mills, et cetera, absolutely do. And that's up. Stocks are up. It's bullish. That's good news, because those are the raw materials moving, right?
So the big question that Greg Miller poses is that, will new ship orders kill the rebound? And I guess it's something that's happened in past cycles, right? And that's what he's really trying to aim to answer with this article. And his source says that the super cycle is a strong impression, but the probability is that increasing each day at the current ordering trend. So it looks like that people are bullish on this, right? And that they're just going to expect it to keep going, and that new ship orders aren't necessarily going to kill any recovery that we're seeing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's not going to outpace it. I mean, that's what it is. It's bullish. They're bullish on it. They're bullish on the stocks. Those keep rising, and it is a good indicator of what is going on in the economy. Another global economy
Yep.
And the last headline that I really wanted to touch on today, because it is 420, and Brian Straight is managing editor of Modern Shipper, and he writes very, very well. And I think this is very interesting. It's indicative of new tech and changing marketplaces and being able to adapt and really diversify and move. Is the cannabis logistics is smoking hot, which he writes today in Modern. The Modern Shipper, the story behind how April 20th became known as Weed Day around the world are as varied as the cannabis product. Now, according to Time magazine, the most incredible story is that a group of teenagers in 1971, it was not me, used to meet at 4:20 p.m. after school to smoke pot, and 420 became their code for the word. Doesn't matter how that happened. Here's the thing. 16 states and Washington, D.C., it's legal for adults over age 21 to use marijuana.
Right.
A total of 36 states now have at least medical marijuana laws on the books, and 3 more states, New Mexico, Virginia, and South Dakota, have passed legalization laws that have yet to get into effect. The other thing that when you get into the cannabis market and moving is that it's not federally legal for federal financial institutions to accept money and move money in cannabis transactions.
Okay.
But there's legislation in Congress to change that as well. So it's increasing. And here's some statistics for you that are in here. Very interesting read on how this is affected and what Dutchie, who raised $200 million for their online platform. Right? For final mile order and delivery of this stuff. But look at this. Since the pandemic, marijuana sales jumped 159% in California in March 2020, 100% in Washington State, and 40% in Colorado, 46% in Colorado, according to data from Statista. For the full year, cannabis sales reached $20 billion, increasing 50% year over year, according to Politico, and could reach $30 billion in sales by 2025. I bet it hits it before then. Much of the increase is taking place through e-commerce, with online ordering fulfillment platform Dutchie seeing a 700% surge in online orders between March and August 2020.
So with all of these states working on legalization practices, not only for medical but also for recreational, how long is it until we see an Uber Eats for dispensaries? Until you see those type of private
delivery,
like last mile delivery services.
They're there. I know some people who used them out in LA last time I was out there.
In the legal sense, in the legal.
No, it was legal.
We're making money off of
No,
this,
it was legal. Yeah.
Maybe that's something that we look to start. I don't know.
Yeah. It's absolutely crazy.
It is crazy.
It is, but I mean, so it's there. The differences that are in there in the delivery for this type of stuff is, they're doing $10 million on their platform sales, which is the e-commerce bit of this. 2,500 dispensaries now. There were 600 dispensaries that were working on last year, and now 2,500. What do you think that? Hold on a second. Okay, 420. Someone stole Kaylee.
It's fine. We were talking about Colorado, right?
Oh, weather. Let's go to weather.
Weather. Hey guys, Nick Austin is gone. It's fine. I think that he pieced out for 420. He didn't want to be here for us today. So I'm filling his shoes. We were talking about Colorado. We've got Colorado to thank for late season snow that's pretty much across the entirety of the country right now. We're looking for record-breaking late season cold, so temperatures below freezing all the way from central Texas up to the Ohio Valley, up to Detroit. Snow totals shouldn't be super impactful, but there is some issues going on in I-65 right through Missouri. Clarissa Hawes, one of our writers, was telling me that in Kansas City, they were seeing pretty good snow today. Same thing across central Missouri, but that real story is going to be the lingering cold. Pretty much everywhere in this area of blue that you can see on Sonar Critical Events is going to be those areas where we're going to see below freezing temperatures through tonight, tomorrow, and through tomorrow night as well. So some people have already started planting their gardens for the season. If you have, I'm really sorry, but I was not the one who promised you no more freezes. So just don't take it out on me. Other than that, if you're driving anywhere all the way along that corridor through St. Louis, through central Indiana, all the way up to Detroit, Toledo, expect some delays today. Bigger story also moving into the later half of the week. Looking at some snow totals forecast, could be close to 6 to 12 inches, but that's going to be closer up towards the Canadian border. Interior New England also going to see those snow impacts later on in the week. And Michael Vincent, take it away so I can walk back to the desk
Oh,
and
okay.
have a seat
All
with
right.
you again.
I thought you were gonna give us the cannabis crop report today. That hard freeze. How's the hard freeze gonna affect the cannabis crop report? But I guess that wasn't gonna happen.
I don't
You think we played that well enough to get on like best news bloopers or something, or you think people figured out that was kind of a setup?
Honestly, I've never been on Best News Bloopers. And
You never have? I'm shocked.
almost 3 years of being in the industry, I've tripped and fell on live TV. I've
Got a mic thrown at you last
got
week.
a mic thrown at me. I've accidentally said an inappropriate word on TV before because
Did you? What was the word?
I'm not going to repeat it.
I thought I could trick you.
I'll show you the video of it later, though.
Okay.
It was pretty funny.
Right on. Speaking of inappropriate, Zach Strickland, the Sultan of Sonar, is here with the market update. Zach, what's going on?
Yeah, thanks for that intro, Mike. So the tender rejection rate is still relatively stable right now, around a 25.8% for the United States, combining all the reefer, flatbed, and van tender rejection rates, as well as a few other mixed in there. Not a lot of significant change week over week. Now, this is somewhat surprising this time of year because April tends to be a softer month, but also the fact that tender rejection rates are so extremely high, you tend to get some pretty rapid loosening when things, get this high. Like you see a lot more volatility than we're seeing right now. The fact that we are kind of bumping up against the ceiling of 26% tender rejection rate is somewhat, very unusual for this type of data. So looking across the country, though, to see if there's any significant changes, we pull up the map, of the weighted rejection index. You've seen this, Mike, where we can see, in the blues, where things are changing significantly week over week and the, upward rate pressure, et cetera. The red, of course, indicating downward rate pressure as tender rejection rates are falling rapidly in relation to market size itself. So the one that sticks out, of course, out there in Southern California, once again, Los Angeles rejection rates really taking off here over the last week or so, all the way back up to about a 24% tender rejection rate. So looking at our outbound tender rejection rates for Los Angeles, it's not due to produce season. As far as we can tell, reefer rejection rates not making a huge jump here. It's van tender rejection rates that are driving a lot of this. And this isn't necessarily that shocking. As a lot of the import volumes have been driving a lot of the market destabilization over the last year or so, Los Angeles had been somewhat, I don't want to say settled, but very kind of, a solid like 15, 16, 17% tender rejection rate for most of the winter. A lot of carriers trying to get out to Los Angeles, trying to get some of that long haul, high margin freight so they can, go across the country, drive up that revenue per truck per week, and really drive the KPIs for the utilization. So, and that's also kind of bleeding into some of the surrounding markets, such as Phoenix, the consummate backhaul market, where we also see tender rejection rates slowly climbing up over the last month. And we do think a lot of this reason is because carriers are, bypassing Phoenix. They don't want to cover that, backhaul priced freight out of Phoenix. They're just going to drive the extra couple hundred miles, get to Los Angeles, and then drive back across the country. So, things are still very, wonky on the West Coast, if you will. The rest of the country, not a lot of significant changes. We saw some of the port markets of Savannah and Houston last week really kind of move around a little bit. Not really happening right now, but they're staying consistent at a high rate of rejection. So capacity not loosening significantly really anywhere right now.
Yeah, so that's really the key when you think about these things. I listen to you, and we're in this data all the time, right? So it's kind of like, okay, well, things are kind of stabilizing here. Well, not in the sense that rates are coming down or anything like that. Freight, the capacity is super tight, and levels of freight are very, very high. And I would imagine that that's going to extend for quite some time. Looking at, we just looked at, the report that, the dry bulk stocks and shipper is quite bullish on maritime, which would indicate the economy is up, right? In industrial economy, right? That's not e-commerce. Nobody's buying, bulk coal online. I don't know. Did you buy any, Kaylee? No, I didn't think so. There, I've done my research. Nobody's buying it online. You can get
One
coal delivered.
person says that no one's buying it online.
Yeah, and with the vaccines, et cetera, you expect this level, this new norm, just stay there? And what do you make of the fact that there's not that much volatility right this second?
I think really what it is the fact that we're literally like at the max capacity level.
Yeah.
Like we're not, the shippers aren't able to order, produce, get it off the boat any faster. So capacity is basically just maxed out right now. And it's interesting to see this because you're kind of seeing this natural ceiling of tender rejection rates forming around 26%. 28% is like, really the true peak. But flatbed, for instance, flatbed has been very underperforming in terms of tightness over the last bit. In terms of tender rejection rates, they've been hovering around 9, 10, 11% tender rejection rate, while van and reefer were really having their booms last year. And flatbed is now finally on par with flatbed or with van, once again around a 25% tender rejection rate for flatbed. So this is an indication, and it coincides with industrial recovery. All that e-commerce stuff and the durable goods, the consumer purchases, they're still going, and there's still backlog there. And now on top of that, we have the industrial sector, which is your manufacturing and your raw materials that are starting to move on top of that as well. So now we're starting to really see the freight market click on all cylinders right now.
Like indeed.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting. So Atlanta is down a little bit. I saw on that map. Was that a weighted tender rejection or map that you were showing a little bit earlier?
Yeah, that's the weighted rejection.
Okay, so Atlanta was down a little bit. I saw Elizabeth was down a little bit, but that's their weighted stuff that's there. Those aren't necessarily loosening markets, are they?
Yeah, they're slightly loosening. They're not, I wouldn't call it a significant loosening. I mean, you're not going to see like rates drop off a cliff or anything by any means in either of those areas. Really, the whole point of that map was that Los Angeles, Ontario, they're alive and kicking right now. If you're a shipper, definitely keep your lead times as high as you can. Call your shippers to make sure that you're getting as much capacity as you can. Look at the rails. If you need some of that surface transportation right away, but they're also having their own capacity issues as well.
Excellent. Yeah, I just wanted to bring that up again, that map, and make sure that people understood what the weighted rejection map was. That doesn't mean that necessarily Atlanta is like, there's tons of capacity there and rates are falling, off a cliff or anything like that, because that can be, if not explained right, it can be confusing to some people. But thank you so much, Zach. We'll be watching this and seeing what happens throughout this week, as we saw a little bounce in tender rejections coming back up throughout a little bit through last week. So we'll see, and through this week. So we'll see what's gonna happen. Thank you so much. Let's bring up our first guest.
Yeah.
John Bowes is with us from, let's see, he's got his
Founder.
new company there, which is Freight Trucking Inc. John Bowes, how are you, my friend?
Good. How are you guys?
We don't have audio.
We're doing great.
Oh, do we?
Yeah, we got audio.
That was me.
I don't know why you
Sorry.
can't hear him. I can hear him just fine. John,
Mike.
I got nothing.
thanks for joining us today. Okay, so first things first, you're the founder and CEO of Freight Trucking Inc. Tell us a little bit about your history, what got you started, and what it's like founding your company.
Sure. So my history is I've been in logistics for about 23 years, or actually 35 years. And I started off in the business as a service and started driving a truck and went up from management, built all the way up to senior management. I did everything in the business and just kept growing and growing. I finally ended up running one of the largest dedicated specialized LTL for the flooring industry for U.S. Express. We were a wholly owned subsidiary. Built that up. We did some mergers, we did some acquisitions, we did some divesting of companies, and we finally did a sale of that company. It's been a really good ride as far as logistics goes. We've done, there's a lot of stuff that we've done with all aspects of the logistics space.
So, John, hey, I got my audio up. I don't know if it was me or back there. My thing was on, but regardless, hey, starting it off right on 420 day, I guess. But yeah, so John, we've been friends for quite a while. I've known John for about close to 20 years now.
Good buddies.
But yeah, But so John was an OG. He's an OG from FreightWaves. He was one of the original guys at FreightWaves, and he was chief badass officer here. If you've been to FreightWaves Live, our first events, in FreightWaves Chicago, et cetera, and basically anything you've experienced with FreightWaves over the years that you went, wow, that's badass. That's the guy who was responsible for it, and or one of the guys, very, very key member of the team in building this up, and a great guy. And we're very proud to have him here in Chattanooga and starting his own company here. So, John, Freight Trucking Inc. What are you doing there, and why'd you get back into asset trucking?
So Freight Trucking Inc. is going to be the engine to focus on multiple verticals for manufacturers, shippers, and 3PLs. Companies. We're going to focus on regions and strategic regions, utilizing technology and really customizing solutions for those three companies. And you asked me why back in asset trucking. I get a lot of that. But It's mainly because I'm completely bonkers and I still can't sit still. So. That's really it. But really, I mean, for real, the passion. I love this business. I've always loved this business. I have a passion for it. I love creating cool things. I love allowing other people to have opportunities and improving on companies that we have, and really passing it forward. And why did I do it? Well, I needed to do something, and I looked at other opportunities, and I really kept going back to, if I could find something that I can really contribute and pass forward, I'm going to do that. And then all of a sudden, everything seemed right, the timing, and there was an opportunity that was right. And, I realized that great companies have great people. They start with great people. And it was an easy move. So what I did was I purchased Lipsy Trucking. And the reputation that Lipsy Trucking has, they have great employees. They have top-notch drivers with their current customer base. And it was important for me to bring in verticals, and one of the verticals was the trucking side. For dedicated business. And it was important to bring good people in and set the culture and set the attitude and the organization. Those guys at Lipsy Trucking are really good. They've got amazing resilience. They've been through a lot. They're extremely talented and dedicated to the company. And me, Mike, I like hiring talented people and getting them out of the way and helping them succeed with a positive environment, employee engagement, empowerment and accountability, and having a good time. That's how I've always run my businesses, and that's what I'm doing today.
John, so we've just gone over and over again about how the last year has been so totally hectic in the trucking world, right? What did 2020 or even the first quarter of 2021 teach you that made you be like, this is how I want to run my business? This is how I see the world of freight going in the future. So this is an opportunity now, like you said, to capitalize on this business chance.
One of the things that really set it off for me was, and I want to focus on the dedicated. I want to build that dedicated business, but stability with customers. I mean, there was no stability. There still isn't any stability. You just don't know what's happening out there. And I thought that, to bring added value, people want stability, and there's a big open spot for dedicated business, regardless of what it is. It could be dedicated anything in logistics. That's how I got to it.
Yeah. So John, you starting up post COVID, I guess, still in it.
Still in it.
Hopefully coming out of it. You've got salsa trucks, right? As Dooner calls them, trucks. They're all trucks and no chips, right? There's no microchip, so they're backlog on getting new trucks. Driver shortage exacerbated by the schools being closed or locked down, et cetera, and lack of that type of stuff. How are you doing? You're in heavy growth mode right now. How has that been like? What's the difficulties there, and how are you guys overcoming that?
Yeah, so the growth mode for me is again, we're going to have assets, and assets are good, but our asset base is going to be 20% our assets and 80% variable owner operators. We're going to do an owner operator program. We're going to build, we're just going to build driver situations. We're going to work with the 3PLs who have current business and really start to scale that up. One of the things that really hit me was drivers. You have the issues with the drivers, and everybody has the issues with drivers, and we've always had issues with the drivers, but that's never going to change. It's just going to get worse. And we're doing what everybody else is doing. The 10th Street, we're doing, we're doing all the recruiting and all the pay and getting everything up. But I think that what's really helping me with the drivers is, word of mouth, empathy and understanding of what the driver needs and bringing them value. And what we're doing is we're strategically going after regions. Right now, we're attacking the Southeast region. We already have business in other regions. And what we're going to do is we've got the equipment. We've already planned for the equipment. It's a lease buy program. We've got equipment in-house, and we've brought in equipment. So we have the equipment, we have the drivers, and we're working on the owner operators.
So if you've got people who, you said your best way is word of mouth, right? People are watching this right now. They're hearing the words straight out of your mouth, and they want to hear more from you. They want to get in contact with you, possibly work with you or for you. Where should they go?
Sure. I mean, they can get a hold of me at lipsytrucking.com or JB at FreightTrucking.com or LinkedIn. That's me personally. We have a lot of opportunities within Lipsy Trucking right now. If you go in there and take a look at the opportunities, we're growing, we're building the business. So,
excellent stuff. Thank you so much, John. You have a great day, my friend. We'll talk to you again soon and get a catch up on what you guys are doing.
So John's talking to us about recruiting people for every role in his business, right?
Yeah.
And we've got Hunter Whirley ready to talk to us about recruiting, but not necessarily in that driver spot. He's talking more about middle to upper level management, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Let's get to him here. Hunter Whirley, managing partner at FPC Riverwood. Hunter, you've been on the show a couple times. How you doing, my friend?
Doing well, Michael. 420 and here dead sober. So good to be here.
We love to hear it. We love to hear it. Hunter, thank you for joining us today. So we just heard John talking about how he's trying to struggle to bring in this new business. He's looking for all these people out of word of mouth. That's his approach. Talk to us about what you're seeing in hiring trends right now. And of course, you're not focusing on that driver side. You're more focusing on that middle to upper level management. What is it like trying to find people right now?
It's a very competitive market. And first of all, best of luck to John. One of the things that he said that made a lot of sense to me is he is looking to guard his reputation. And right now what we're seeing a lot is people will overpromise and underdeliver. So I think he's got the right model there in that if he can come in and do what he says, I think he's going to build that brand that people will want to come to work with him because people know who they work for. They know your company. So that's something that's pretty key there in that having a really strong brand that people want to be a part of your team. So kudos to him.
I gotta say, that whole reputation idea, the whole brand idea, that's one of the things that drove me to FreightWaves. Like back in November, when I was looking for my job, and I was like, everybody that I hear that works for FreightWaves, I knew about Craig from word of mouth, and I was like, I want to work there because the brand is so great and so strong.
If you can feel it from the employees.
Oh yeah.
Right. I mean,
100%.
that's one of those things, and and I'm sure John will be able to do that. He's done it in the past, and Craig has done it here. I mean, John and Craig have worked together longer than I've worked with. They've been 25, 30 years together. Those two. So, not surprising that John came here and then has moved on and been very, very successful, learning quite a bit from here and helping us get things moving here. Hunter, what's the trends in hiring right now? Where's warehousing and distribution going on? Getting warehousing workers has been incredibly difficult. Getting people to go in there and run these warehousing is at a premium right now. How's the employment and the recruiting going there?
If you are currently looking for a role in warehousing and logistics, you're you're in the best market you could be in. For those who are looking to hire in that area, you're going to have to be more competitive than you have in the past. Saying we've always paid this, or we have to do this, or we have to, we've always done it this way. You might have to push those boundaries just a little bit to attract top talent, because everybody is looking for the same qualified professionals. And between your reputation, your pay scale, how you run your business, it's a very aggressive market. And looking at transportation, it's strange because transportation looks like they're trying to keep drivers in trucks, they're trying to keep assets, and more senior level hiring has slowed down just a little bit, just trying to keep assets running.
Do you think that half of that slowdown of the senior level, middle level, is because people don't necessarily want to work those jobs? They're enjoying the flexibility of maybe working from home. They don't want to have to come into an office. They want to try and maybe find part-time work or stuff that they can do on their own schedule without having to dedicate themselves as a true office employee as it used to be.
I think for your more senior level people, a lot of them enjoy actually coming into their office and leading their team, being eye to eye with people, because over a screen there's no comparison to the amount of synergy that you get when you're able to look at your team all in the same room and say, okay, we're all on the same sheet of music. We're all good to go. Let's go. Now, for others who may be in more junior roles, it's become more the norm now to roll out of bed, hopefully brush your teeth, and go to the couch and open your laptop. What you'll see, I think, is that 50% of Americans now, according to the news, if we can trust all that, 50% of Americans have gotten their first COVID shot. 50% of American adults. So what we're going to see is between the natural exposure, between more people becoming vaccinated, those senior level leaders are going to want to see their teams back in the office again. And it brings back the good and the bad. It brings back the bad of a commute, the time wasted there, but it also brings in the goodness of being able to get on the same page with your team.
Right.
Are you seeing that trend already in the hiring requirements of people who are recruiting for jobs, as they need to relocate, or they specifically have to have, during COVID, I know that when we talked, there was a tendency to hire somebody, let's say in Tennessee, for a job that would normally be located in, say, New York City or whatever, because you can work from home. It's pretty easy. Is that trend starting to reverse a little bit? Are you saying that you're seeing that a little bit?
We're seeing that a little bit more. We're seeing leadership want to have leaders on site more often, but right now we're still in a little bit of that flux stage to where people are saying, okay, we're hiring you on for the senior level position. Feel free to work, travel from home, and then we'll see what things look like in a year.
Gotcha.
A waiting game still.
What's that?
Still just a waiting game.
Yeah, it certainly is. So people who are out there trying to fill these seats, you described it much like you see in the capacity market, whether it be air freight or maritime or trucking or rail, really. If you're a shipper and you're looking for capacity, you're going to pay some money. There's not a lot out there. And if you've got capacity, you can make some money. So we're seeing wages go up. Is there any bidding wars starting? Are you seeing the offers start to go higher and higher here, like you are in truck driving and, trying to get drivers recruited into your company, where they're given, signing bonuses, that type of stuff?
Not necessarily at that level, because right now there is such a need for drivers, and it's been so aggressive in that market. But I think that you'll start to see the market stabilize a little bit, wages stabilize. There's boom times, there's slow times, and I think right now we're just in a boom, and things will flatten out and naturalize a little bit more.
Gotcha.
Makes sense.
Yeah, no, it certainly does. So. Hunter, I want to thank you for your time today. It's always interesting, and I like getting in an update on what is going on in this particular side of the market and recruiting for everybody out there. There's more than just drivers being recruited out there. If people want to learn more and get in touch with you and find out what's happening, how do they do that, sir?
Look me up on LinkedIn, Hunter Whirley, Whirley. I'm always willing to have a conversation just to network.
Awesome,
Excellent.
Hunter.
Thank you so much, Hunter. You have a great day, my friend.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna jump in here with a comment from
Okay.
Nico Brown on LinkedIn. He says that he thinks post-pandemic life will require management that can manage and motivate in-house and remote teams at the same time,
Agreed.
which is a different skill set. And that's so true. Like it takes a completely different skill set to be able to not only work with your people in person, but also it's kind of like teachers that have to like manage those blended classes.
Yeah.
You know, like you're talking to some people on Zoom, you're talking to some people at a conference table, and it's like, how do you have communication skills that work for both sets? It's tough.
Yeah, absolutely. And when when you're teaching, it's a little bit different than running a company, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're trying to teach the people, but when you're running a company, you're trying to be successful. You got shareholders and stuff, and everybody else to convince there, and having that skill set and keeping those people motivated and feeling engaged with the rest of the team when they're remote.
Right.
Has been difficult, and people have been we're learning some hard lessons and hopefully building up those skill sets. But yeah, doing both is going to be really hard.
And also working, like trying to build that team and make it an integrated, seamless team together. It's really, really hard to do when your team members don't know each other, they haven't met face to face, they don't have a level of trust together yet. And that's, I think, is really kind of the hardest part, is how do you work together when you don't know the people that you work with?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
100%.
You know who I do know is Nate Robert, co-founder of Baton, and I love what he's doing out there. I've had him on the show. We've talked to him a couple of times on this show and other shows, but Nate is joining us today. And hey, welcome, my brother. How are you today?
Doing great. It's good to be back. Thanks for having me again.
Right on. Where are you calling in from?
San Francisco.
San Francisco.
He's got some serious work going on the board behind him. That's how you know it's big time.
Yeah.
When that whiteboard is full of stuff, you know that it's big
Exactly.
time going on there.
Don't even try
Yeah.
to understand it. Don't even try to understand it. You'll hurt yourself. We'll pull a muscle trying to understand what's going on there.
My whiteboard still has a calendar from last June on there. Like it hasn't been erased, and it's been almost a year. It's
Yeah.
fine.
So, hey,
It's
Nate,
totally fine.
Nate, I know what Baton does. Can you give a little background on what Baton does and what's been happening with you guys recently? I think you
Yep.
had a little fundraise that came recently.
Yes. Yeah. So Baton is a logistics technology company with the goal of eliminating wasting time in long haul trucking. So today, if a driver is going from Dallas to LA, the worst part of their journey is when they get to the LA metro area, they're sitting in traffic, they're sitting in line at the warehouse, they're waiting around for their next appointment. And with Baton, that long haul driver can drop off his trailer at one of our drop zones in and around LA. And then we use a more flexible local fleet for the final delivery to the warehouse. And then we also will pick up trailers from other warehouses and bring them back to our drop zone so that the long haul driver can come in, drop off their trailer, immediately pick up their next load and start their next delivery.
So it seems like you guys are kind of like the intermediary between those long haul drivers and then your last mile services, and you guys are there in the middle to make it a seamless handoff, right?
Yes, and so our customers are long haul carriers. So we're working with 4 of the top 10 largest fleets in the country, a handful of medium sized fleets, and as well as one of the AV trucking companies. And then our technology is the platform that coordinates the drop zone, the local fleets, all the deliveries to the warehouses, et cetera.
That's
so
excellent
cool.
stuff. Excellent stuff. So you've had a recent fundraise from, let's see, Maersk, 8VC, Prologis, Ryder, Lineage. Can you talk
Just
about
some
that?
small names.
People don't know who these people are. Really, major names on that list. Really impressive, and congratulations for that, really. Can you talk that a little bit and how that's going to propel you, what you're going to use that for to propel you guys forward?
Yep. Yeah. So, I mean, we're really grateful for how it all turned out. I think we got a lot of investors in who are valuable to Baton beyond just writing the check. Like they're providing strategic advice. They're accentuating our network. We're partnering with several of them already on different initiatives. So super grateful for how that all turned out. The goal of this round of funding is so right now we're live in Los Angeles. The goal of this funding is to continue to develop our technology platform and to launch 2 or 3 more markets after this and prove that we can scale. And then if that goes well, the goal will be to raise a Series B and then expand this to every major metro area in the country.
So I feel like LA is like a pretty big city to tackle first, right? Like I've been to LA once, and I can say that I was there for 3 days, and like 24 hours of my 3-day trip was spent sitting in traffic. How are you guys? Where do you guys want to expand to next? How has it been mitigating like a city like LA where traffic is truly just so awful all the time?
Yeah, so the next areas that we're looking to expand are Atlanta, Chicago, and Dallas. And I mean, really just tackling like the biggest freight markets across the country first. And you do have a really good point in LA in particular. Like the congestion is crazy, wait times are huge at warehouses. And one of the things that we've done is because we have local fleets that are able to deliver 24/7. When we have flexible appointment windows, we do a lot of deliveries at night, and so that dramatically cuts down on traffic, allows us to get in and out of warehouses faster. We've also developed really close relationships with a lot of the warehouses we deliver to frequently. So on average, we experience 39% less dwell and detention at warehouses than our customers do. So we're able to reduce the amount of the total amount of waste in the system. It's not, we're not just inheriting this waste, we're actually dramatically reducing the total waste that the entire system experiences.
39%, that's a huge amount off of time.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's massive.
I absolutely love it. It's brilliant because you're cutting out that need to coordinate or the difficulty of driving long haul and then dealing with that type of stuff, which is not only it's difficult for the driver to deal with that, right? I mean, there's a lot of safety issues with a driver who's driven long haul and then has to deal now with the traffic of LA, right? And the Inland Empire over there and everything else because of fatigue, right?
Yeah.
And now you're getting into this heavy situation. But there's also the coordination with the shipper and with that long haul driver, right? And like you said, those delivery windows, but you've got that flexibility. The other thing that is interesting to me of this is really the effect on the driver shortage. Because of this, you guys are much more productive, and we've got this driver shortage. Tell me how that's relevant. Explain to our audience how that is really relevant thing to think about here.
Yep. So this is one, Craig Fuller actually talks about this a lot, that we don't actually have a driver shortage problem. We have a driver productivity problem.
Agreed. 100%.
So estimates range, we're saying we're short a couple 100,000 drivers. But really, when you look at the productivity side, an MIT study showed that the average driver only gets 6.5 hours of drive time out of their allotted 11-hour window. So that's just a massive amount of waste that drivers aren't driving, drivers aren't getting paid, carriers aren't getting paid, nothing's moving. Yeah. And that same study showed if we could increase the time that an average driver drives each day by just 12 minutes, we would completely alleviate the driver shortage problem. Wow. So it's about, instead of focusing on getting more drivers, we should focus on improving the productivity and the utilization of the drivers we do have. And when that happens, those drivers are doing more miles, they're earning more money. It's a win-win situation.
And you're reducing carbon footprints, you're improving the environment, you're improving efficiencies, you're lowering the cost of transportation and shipping. That's why I love this, basically. Exactly. I mean, you think about all the different things that you're positively affect by solving. Here's the issue. The drivers are not efficient. Is it the driver that's not efficient? No, it's really the system. And it's that end on either end, that cog on either end that's twist so slow sometimes, aggravating, right?
It's totally out of their control because they can't control the traffic situations that they get into in the cities that they're delivering to.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Can you talk to now? A lot of people about autonomous vehicles in freight, right? And I want to get your opinion on this because I see you guys setting yourself up for really being efficient in this area as well as things kind of change. People look at different autonomous vehicles for fixed environments where there's not a lot of anomalous events, right? And one of those would be like a yard, a shipping yard, or a distribution center yard. The other one that people look at is the long haul, because just and in the city would not be. Can you talk about autonomous vehicles and how you see that rolling out and having effect on trucking and so on?
Yeah, absolutely. So with Baton, our short-term mission is to eliminate waste in trucking. Our long-term vision is to be the platform that accelerates the adoption of autonomous vehicles. And so this gets directly to your point. It's not a question of if autonomous vehicles would become viable for trucking. It's a question of where they will be viable first. And exactly to your point, they're going to be viable in fixed, repeatable situations like on the yard or certain short-haul segments, and then specifically on long-haul segments. And they'll be viable on the long haul long before they're viable on city and local driving. So in order to take advantage of autonomous vehicles, you have to have transfer hubs where a highway-only autonomous vehicle hands off their trailer to a human driver for the first and final mile. And that's exactly what we're building. As we build out this nationwide network of drop zones, we're also positioning ourselves to be the nationwide transfer hub network that any AV company can plug into for that transfer hub model. And we've already started working with one AV company, helping them test this transfer hub model. We're talking to a handful of others, hopefully start testing later this year. But it's definitely a very big part of how AVs come into this world is how do we actually enable them to handle that first and final mile of delivery.
So as we move to that more transfer mode, do you think that that's going to become like really appealing for people to get into the industry to be those local fleet transfer drivers, right? Because you're not hitting long miles, you're not gone from your family for extended periods of time, you're making your drive to maybe 15, 20, 35 miles outside the city, inside to super local jobs. Is that going to be way more appealing to get people into the industry?
Totally, yeah, and especially with millennials coming into the workforce, millennials much prefer the short haul jobs than the long haul jobs so that they can get home every single night.
Of course.
And really, with all of autonomous trucking, we believe there's not going to be huge layoffs of drivers. There's just going to be a shift of drivers from long haul to short haul, which in many cases these are more desirable jobs anyway because you can get home to your family every night and they're more predictable hours. So yeah, that is a huge win for the industry of transferring from long haul to short haul.
Excellent.
Amazing.
Nate, I've said it before. I've said it many times. I'm a big fan of Baton and what you guys are doing there. I think it's awesome. Yourself, and we could talk about many more of the benefits that are there. I just think it's awesome. People want to learn more, get in touch. Where do they go, my friend?
You can check out our website, www.baton.io, so baton.io, or shoot us an email at info@baton.io.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Nate. You have a wonderful day, my friend.
Yep. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Talk soon.
It really solves. It really helps because both ends are. It makes both the local, the short haul and the long haul more attractive to drivers. Because those that want the long haul, they want the long haul, but they want to be efficient and keep turning. They don't want to sit at a warehouse and do nothing. So he solves that. And those that want trucking jobs and want regular pay and don't have to worry about what they're sitting there not making miles, he's got that for them too. He solves that for them too. It's really brilliant stuff.
I truly, there's faults with everything. There's shortfalls with everything, but it was hard to see a shortfall in that.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing.
Well, you know where else you can't find any shortfalls?
With Anthony Smith.
And his insights, they're brilliant. And he's here. I skipped over him earlier to get to John Bose because we were running a little bit behind.
A little backwards today, it's okay.
Saving the best for last, and that will be coming up right after Anthony. Anthony, what's going on, my friend?
Not too much, and I'd skip me for John Bose too, but there's a lot going on, especially with housing starts. They are sky high at 19.4%, and it exceeded expectations. So we're looking throughout the country, throughout every single region, it was up, except for the West Coast, which is going to be kind of dragged down by California, which is having, of course, that mass exodus. When we look across the regions, we see that West Coast is going to be one of the weak points. But we saw growth in the Northeast. We saw growth really in the Midwest and in the South. So really, housing starts right back in action.
Really? Growth in the Northeast and the Midwest?
That's right. So growth really across all the boards. We're looking at single starts, multifamily, all of that, really kind of being propped up by the lack of inventory on the existing home sales. But again, there's going to be some headwinds. I always talk about the headwinds with housing starts. Those lumber prices, they're sky high. And it's really going to be an impeding factor on overall starts progress throughout the remainder of the year.
Anthony, I have a question to ask you later. It's going to take a long, in-depth explanation about those lumber prices. So don't let me forget to ask it.
You're going to tease everybody and not ask it on the air?
I'm going to give it like the short and sweet. Okay, so I saw a TikTok yesterday.
Coming up next show.
About a driver who hauls lumber. And he was talking about how the lumber shortage isn't it's not at the source. It's not at the mills. It's not at the transfer places. It's that the third-party lumber brokers, the holders, I don't really know. Like they're holding on to all of this lumber and they're just not letting it go. He's a flatbed driver and he typically is hauling multiple loads of lumber a week and he's only hauling 1 or 2 loads a week now. So why are they doing this? Why is this happening?
So I haven't heard too much about that. I've definitely heard about factories not being able to produce at a fast enough rate for the demand that's online right now. I know initially last year there was an expectation that there was going to be a lack of demand for housing and these building product goods. And so a lot of these factories started to curtail some of their production, and in turn, production actually needed to ramp up. So it was actually a huge misbalance in the material in the market versus what was being demanded. And that led into a large shortage that really seeped it into the remainder of the year and into this year. I haven't heard too much about those goods being held on or anything like that. So that's going to be something to look into. This might be a developing situation or a breaking news story that we might have to jump in on.
Him.
He stumped Anthony. Yeah, I've heard some of the same things, and Anthony, I've heard the explanation. I've heard some of the same things that you were bringing up, and Anthony, I've heard it likened to really the issue with chips. You know, the microchips.
Really?
They figured, hey, let's, we kind of messed ourselves up with that. Like you said, they turned down production because they thought it was going to be down, and then boom, much like blanked sailings in maritime.
We need Clarissa Haas to
Same
do an
thing.
investigative story on this.
When you see her walking in your doors,
Never
I don't
good
know. It might not be good, but housing starts up in the Northeast intrigues me, Anthony. Is it people leaving the big cities, going to these things, or now people? Because usually it's everybody's leaving the Northeast and going south, right?
Yeah.
They're going south and west, and that doesn't seem to be the case. Is it people leaving New York City and building new houses? Is that demand that's there that's eating that up?
That's definitely going to be a big part. I mean, when we're looking at the Northeast, it's a mature region. So especially with single housing starts, not going to be that much. When we look at multifamily, that's usually where we see a lot of the growth when we look at the Northeast. So such a much more mature market. But when we're looking at the Northeast, for sure, there's going to be those people that have left the cities, built those homes outside of those large metropolitan areas. Maybe it's a better quality of life, lower cost of living, things like that. So that's definitely going to be a factor. But we did have a very much down month the month before in February. So there's going to be some easier comps to go against. But there are some really good things happening across the country. Not sure if this is going to be sustainable, especially as we see potentially more homes come online on the existing home market, hopefully, because inventory being so tight is really ramping up prices on both sides and really kind of tightening that or increasing demand when we're looking at those new home sales.
That was going to be my next question is this going to last, or is this housing bubble that's building, is it going to pop sooner? Are we just going to see this influx of inventory available for houses, and is it just going to tank the prices?
So I think when we're looking at housing right now, those prices are going to continue to stay high and increase. I think when we're looking at the pace of increase, we're going to see that it slowly starts to come down. So there's going to be a slowing trend of these increased prices within housing. And so that tight inventory is going to be a thing that's going to keep prices high. But as more inventory comes online, I don't think prices are going to go down. I just think they're going to go up a little bit more slowly. We also have to be mindful of those mandatoriums that have been put in place by the CDC that might really come into play in a few months here as we see whether or not these eviction protections have a deep impact on people being kicked out of their homes. Is that going to be a market flooded of evicted renters potentially? Or is there going to be a sudden glut of new homes or existing homes on the market? So there are quite a few factors to kind of take into play depending on what kind of route the government takes on these mandatorium for those that may be in foreclosure.
So what you're saying is you need a lot of data and consider many different factors. There's many things that are playing out.
But he doesn't really know what he believes.
No, Anthony, always insightful. Thank you very much, my friend. We'll catch up with you. Well, no, I guess not this Thursday we won't, but next week we will on Tuesday.
Yes.
Because you know why? Not this Thursday.
It is a summit, I believe.
It is the Net Zero Carbon Summit this Thursday, April 22nd, Earth Day. More sustainable futures on the horizon, from fuel efficiency and greenhouse gas reduction goals to hydrogen-powered aircraft and battery electric trucks. And I saw a video of a train as well today, a cargo train.
That's
Sustainable transportation technologies are advancing every single day, Kaylee.
I'm super excited for this. I did a really, really great interview about where investors should put their money. I've heard that you guys have a good live What the Truck segment.
Oh, of course.
We've got live Put That Coffee Down. We've got live Cyberly with Bryce can I ever say her name right? Brumleve. She's going to be great.
Blythe Brumley. Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be awesome. So check it out. It's this Thursday. And then, coming up April 30th, we've got Drone Waves, which is going to be really cool.
Drone Waves.
In May, we've got FreightWaves Live at Home.
And we're back again.
And then when we get into November, the first live event of the year coming back, everybody's coming back. They're going to come to F3 in Chattanooga.
Yep.
Everybody we talk to is coming.
And if you're
It's gonna be
not
awesome.
planning on going to F3, you need to put that in your calendar now. Make sure you've got your vaccination, book your hotel room. It's the Coachella of freight, as you like to say. It's going to be great. We'll see you guys.
Peace and love.